I think that there's definitely a continual temptation, and in some sense, the narrative elements we were referring to with Avraham, uh, they're not just a contingent fact in the sense of what happened in his life. It may also be an account the Torah is giving of a constant inclination that any descendant of Abraham, but particularly any bearer of his standard, bearer of the Torah, may have, where you say, okay, I understand that Hashem is king of the whole world, and I understand that ultimately he has expectations of all of humanity, and he has a message for all of humanity. And there's a very delicate line to walk between saying, yes, it is my job to bear that message to humanity, and to start to say, but I have to craft that message in a way that essentially removes the particularity of who I am and where I'm coming from, right? That if this message is for everyone, it must somehow come from everyone, right? That there's and this is a particularly popular idea in the West, because obviously the West is very um, influenced by Christianity, and this was in some sense the attempt by Christianity that Christianity made to modify the biblical idea, but that there should be something universally accessible about the truth, and so that if that's the case, it wouldn't make sense for a universal God of everyone to choose a particular people to have a particular set of rules that only they have to keep, and that they have a particular mission, and that somehow they need to be this like conduit or this address for the learning of his Torah. There is something simpler and more perhaps aesthetically appealing to the eye of a Greek kind of thinker to say, why don't we have one nice big round circle where all the parts of it are equidistant from the center, so to speak, and just say that if there's truth, then the truth should be light that's equally visible in every place and to everyone, and doesn't need to kind of come in this particular container. And obviously, because of, I think, really both the influence of Christianity and Islam, there are a lot of Jews who, even in their understanding of Judaism, as it's gradually accumulated influence from Christianity and Islam over the centuries, that's their inclination in terms of the account that they would give of it. But I would say on top of that, that it's also, the Torah is telling us it's an understandable inclination insofar as Avraham had that temptation, because we have this kind of eagerness. There's maybe something a bit meritorious in wanting to sort of skip to the end and say, like, no, I just want to tell everyone about this and, spread the good news, so to speak, right? But Avraham had to learn the hard way that is not ultimately going to be a successful approach. That there's a midrashic source, I believe, that suggests, for example, that after the War of the Five Kings, that when Avram was returning the people of Stone to their king, that there was this great push to make Avram their deity, in a sense, right? And that's consistent also with actual passages connected with that in the Torah, where Melchizedek, who's the Kohen of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in some sense, from Shalem, he comes and he blesses Avram first before he blesses Hashem. But there's this slippage, you notice, where you should be blessing Hashem first, but he blesses Avram first. The Midrash tells us that's why the Kehunah was taken away from Melchizedek, who was Shem, and given after that implicitly to Shevet Levi, and so there's this constant temptation to try to bring everyone into direct experience of Hashem as soon as possible, and in a way that's simple enough and relatable enough that the message can be obvious and universal at the outset. But those attempts, I think the Torah teaches us, unfortunately lead to overly simple idolatries quite quickly, even if once they lead to them, they have a tendency to become widely popular and stick around for centuries or millennia.